So this is track one. We're going to talk about some email stuff and phishing and being naughty with email. Hopefully you're all in the right place. If you're not, hopefully it'll still be entertaining. If you're just trying to get a good seat for the next talk, then I commend you. That's a big commitment. So we're going to talk about phishing a little bit, how to make it work. We're going to go into some of the technical details of how to set that up. Don't worry, it's not that bad. And then, and kind of some ideas on how to be successful, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's what I just talked about. That's the slide I should have been showing you. Off to a great start. So, Cat, that's me, circa 1983, I want to say. I think that's a He-Man sword, if I'm not mistaken. My sister may or may not be holding Skeletor. Anyway, so I work for the Cadence Group. I'm the security testing lead there. And has anybody had a Taco Bell breakfast, AM Crunch Wrap in here? No one. Sad face. It is delicious. So if you're ever passing a Taco Bell before 11 and you're hungry, you will not be disappointed. There's some contact information which I'll put on at the end as well. So the first thing I want to start with, I'm going to pop this out of here. Hopefully that's not annoying. There we go. I want to tell you a tale of woe. And this tale of woe is a true story. And the true story is of a guy, let's call him Brian. We'll call him that because that's his name. And Brian came home one day to this. That's when Brian knew he was going to have a bad day. This is similar to when you walk into your CTO's office and say, I think we have a problem. This is what your CTO sees in their head. Fire trucks, flashing lights. There's no fire in this photo, but you can probably imagine what's coming. And there it is. So Brian's house burned to the ground, unfortunately. And it was unfortunate because, you know, it's Brian's house. You got to feel bad for Brian, his house. So this is what your CTO is now in his head. He's saying, okay, we had a problem. We had a bit of a data breach. Some of our data's left our premise or our control. That's okay. We got the first responders here, the forensics team's here. They're doing their assessment and figuring things out. We're going to be okay. And then you hear him say, oh, crap. And he sees the news van. The news van is now here. So your breach is no longer your business. It's now everyone's business, whether you'd like to release that information or not. So that's a bad day. That's worse than the house burning down, right? So yeah, he's probably thinking in his mind, he or she is thinking in their mind, how did we get here? How did I end up in this position? And I don't know what it would be necessarily for your environment if you had the situation. However, Brian's was pretty straightforward. So in this photo lies a very telling truth, and I think it applies to both IT and home ownership. And you may not be able to see it. So this Brian lives in Phoenix. So in Phoenix, there's some specific things that happen due to the weather. It's hot in the summer. You may be familiar with that. It's also not very cold in the winter. So from this photo, if we zoom in here, there's something odd in this photo. If anyone sees it, has nothing to do with that fireman there. It's that. Okay, in Phoenix, it only freezes a couple of times a year. That means we can grow things that are maybe more inclined for a tropical climate, okay? Like oranges, for example. This is an orange. You can see the oranges better there. Orange tree bush doesn't really look like a full-size tree, but anyway. So when it would freeze, you would cover your plants with some sort of blankie to keep them warm so they don't die, and you still have oranges all through the winter because it doesn't really get that cold. So the blanket is kind of like the latest Blinky box. Okay, the Blinky box you install to filter all your email, get rid of all the spam, all the phishing emails. That's the blanket. The problem is that if you did have a breach, you probably have a problem in your core networking, your core configurations, your updating, your patching, and most importantly, your users. Okay, So Brian's problem with his house was that he added on a room to the back of his house, and I don't know if he did the wiring, but the wiring was faulty. Okay, so he had a core problem with his house that would have been easy to solve up front, maybe required a little bit more work, but would have resulted in his house not burning to the ground. Okay, so don't be like Brian. Don't put the blanket and the blinky box and not cover the basics. Okay, so how are these breaches occurring? Any ideas? People hacking firewalls? No, no one's hacking firewalls. I mean, somebody is, maybe somewhere, Huawei or something. But so according to Verizon, 23% open phishing emails and 11% click on attachments. How are they getting in? Social, obviously. 50% are clicked on with the first hour. Okay, so you have 60 minutes to get to reduce your click rate by 50%. If you're at lunch, that's a problem. Okay, and 2/3 of cyber espionage has included phishing. That's a lot, 66%. Okay, so how long do you have till the first click? 1 minute, 22 seconds. How fast can you compose an email saying, don't click on this? Maybe faster than 1 minute, 22 seconds, depending on when you saw it. Okay. Again, if you're at lunch, it may be too late. All right. So these are a couple of data points from my own engagements that I've been involved in. And we've got two kind of case studies. One is a mature company. They've been around, I mean, in the triple digits of years, a long time. And then we're going to compare them to somebody that's a startup. Okay, still a pretty good sized company, but they're new. Okay, fairly similar sample size, 100, 130. 85% open rate on the older company, okay, and 53 on the younger company. 165 total clicks. So I'm not a math genius, but 85 of 100%, or 85% of 100 is 85, right? So out of the 85 people that clicked on this email, some of those people clicked more than one time because there's 165 clicks, and same at the well, pretty close to even on the young startup, so about half-ish. Okay, so 24 unique logins from the mature company. 58% tried to do it more than one time. Oh, the login didn't work, I'll just try it again. And then 4 went and reset their password, then gave me their new password, which is nice. I mean, I can appreciate that. Nice folks. And then at the startup, not much different. 64 logins harvested, which is actually a little bit higher. But then I got 9 emails asking for support. I'm a nice guy. Hey, it's not working right now. Me and the IT team, we're working on it. Check back in 30 minutes, okay? So is any of this shocking to anyone? Nobody is shocked. If you were shocked, you probably wouldn't be in here. So would your CEO be shocked at these numbers? Maybe. So if there's plenty of data out there, if you have to run an argument to get funding or whatever you need to do, or time, or whatever it is that's stopping your organization from doing phishing engagements now, just dig up some data. There's plenty out there. DBIR, Verizon's DBIR is a great place for that as well. Okay, so how can you do this? Okay, so there's a couple of key points that are important, and to make it successful. Anyone can do it. We've got princes from Tanzania or wherever they are that are doing it. Obviously, a little bit different target market there, but so we got to convince management. We need to check. We need them to write us a check or provision us some time to carry it out ourselves. Okay. Do the first one. It's going to be ugly. If you've never done, who in here does periodic phishing engagements in their organization? I like it, but not a lot. So it's good that you do, and I'm sure it's eye-opening, and I'm sure the users just love it, right? They eat it up. But get the first one done. If you can get funding, say, hey, you know what? Maybe we're great at this. Just let me do one, we'll get it done, and then we'll look at the data. Guarantee you will be guaranteed as much funding as you need, probably not as much funding as you need, but enough funding to get you going on like a quarterly basis, which is ideal. Okay, get the stats. And then here's the important part, and sometimes this is where organizations fall down, is we need to train the users. It's not the user's fault. We're going to trick them. We're going to do things to them that no human should do to another human, okay? It's mean, it's malicious, it's not nice, and we're doing it for their good, right? But that's why we have to train them. Now, this isn't necessarily, we're not training them to avoid targets of opportunity. That's the prince from Tanzania or whatever, Nigeria, wherever it is. Those are targets of opportunity that they're looking for. We're trying to avoid the next level, which is targets of design, right? Somebody that your organization has been targeted for a specific reason. Okay. And then incentivize better behavior. So we're going to get some money, run it the first time, report that, create a training, and then we're going to help our users not only learn the things that they should do, learn the things they should look for, but we're going to help them to be motivated to do those. Okay. And then keep it going. All right, so we're going to talk about, this is probably the biggest variable in phishing, is how do we get people to do what we want them to do? Well, trickery, obviously. Strategery and trickery, right? Those are the two things that we need to do. So we're going to craft an email, make it relevant. It may be that your organization, you just want to check some kind of lower brow, like, hey, we're doing a blood drive, this and that, when you may not be. Or what I like to do is make it as specific as possible to the company. One of the 10 company that I talked about earlier with the data, I knew that they were moving buildings. So I sent an email and referenced the building move. That made it pretty successful. And we'll talk about, I think I've got some examples here as well. So what is happening? Give it some context. What's happening in your organization right now? Okay, and then make it believable. Write it in the verbiage that you use in your company. If you use an acronym for something, throw it in there. That makes it more believable. Now, we're making the body of the email very deceptive, but there's going to be the normal flags there that they should be able to pick up on, and that they will be able to pick up on once we give them the proper training. Okay, so get a domain. These people look very happy with their domain. Maybe they're getting married. It's a wedding domain. I don't really know. Anyway, so these are some of the domains I've used. So domainsec.com. So, oh, this is the security department. We got our own domain now. Give us your credentials. So those are a couple of ideas. And then there's always the skip a letter, swap a number, and I'll show you some ones that I did for our company. So this is where AWS comes into play. Who in here uses AWS at all? Okay, you're gonna love it. Those of you haven't. Those of you raise your hand. Do you love AWS? Raise your hand again if you love it. Everyone loves it, 100%. I do not have any affiliation with Amazon, I promise, but I think AWS is pretty cool. So AWS has a service called Route 53, which you may catch the reference. 53 is UDP port for DNS, right? Okay, I'd tell you a DNS joke, but you may not get it. Okay, so I don't require any acts either. So we're going to go to Route 53 in your Amazon account, and what do you have to open an Amazon account? Credit card, and maybe a face, but maybe not a face, because you're on the internet. So credit card, you can open with your personal credit card, any credit card. And then you're basically off to the races. So we're going to register a domain through Route 53. If you want to get to the different service, you've never been on AWS, you can just click the little box. I think I have a laser. There we go, laser. So click the little box and it'll bring down all your services. Route 53 is where most of the stuff that we're going to do resides. So register domain seems pretty straightforward. And so this is a domain that I was trying to register for our company, and I used a Greek letter A, which is a different Unicode. I thought it would work, so I tried it, but Amazon didn't like it, thankfully. So +1 for Amazon. They said, hey, you're not Greek anything, none of this other stuff's Greek, like we're going to bounce this. Because that's pretty deceptive. That A from a regular A probably would get most of our guys to click on stuff, am I right? Okay. Okay, but I did have to select the Greek language to even get it to submit. So it didn't end up working out. I'll show you which one I actually did get. But so you register a domain, you get this email, thank you, hang out for a minute, we'll send you an email, let you know when you're ready. Then you can check in your pending requests in Route 53 over here. Laser doesn't work great at 45. Anyway, and it'll say in progress, and then, so here's the failure of my Greek letter A domain. So that didn't work. If you're trying to do that, you might have to use a different registrar, or I don't know what mechanisms they use to filter those, but +1 for Amazon. So the top one is the one I did register, which I just omitted the second A, which is also pretty deceptive since it's not necessarily, I mean, it's still fairly phonetic. And I probably still get some clicks. Kevin, can I get an amen? Okay, probably still get some clicks. And then your domain shows up in your Route 53. This is just a list of domains. The blocked out's just my redacted domains that I already have. So we've got the cadence group in there without the A. So it looks like my domain. It isn't my domain. Will a user catch it? That's the question. You could swap an O for a 0, but kind of get the uppercase, lowercase thing. So just be creative. Use something that's pretty contextual to what you got going on currently. Okay, so we're gonna set up DNS. Who's daunted and shocked by setting up DNS? It can be annoying, right? I mean, how annoying is? Have you set up DNS in AWS? No. Okay. Not your realm. I understand. So good news. It's easy. It's super easy, especially if you bought your domain from Route 53. So you go in here, and then we've got this registered domain. It's all registered up, and then we just go here. We just go to the hosted zones. What do we have? We have hosted zone created by Route 53. Guess what I did to create that? Nothing, because that's easy. Okay, so that's easy. That's what I like easy. I'm a hacker. I don't like things that are hard. Hard things are a lot of work. So I like things to be easy, and when things just happen for me because I clicked on a button, I like those. And I like to tell other people about those things because they're easy to do. Okay, so it's all done. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is click on there so you can look at it, and hey, it's there. And then once we're in here, here's the settings for your domain. The only thing you'll ever need to know for this specific purpose is you'll have to have a server that we'll talk about as well. So you will have to have one entry in here, an A record, for your IP of your server. That's it, for your domain. Super easy. Basic, let's see, do I do that here? No, I don't do that here, but I think we do that later. So I'll show you that. So here's all your domains all set up. If you wanted to use Gmail, you can put those MX records in here. There's plenty. The other good thing about AWS is there's lots of documentation. They do a really good job of step-by-step, here's how to do this, and then a link, well, what is this? And then you can click and read more. It's pretty well done, honestly. So if you have questions about that as you're going through that, there's lots of how-tos on AWS's own documentation. Okay, so we need an email server. We got to send email, right? So we need an email server. We don't want to run one. That sounds hard. I don't like Exchange. I don't even know how to configure Exchange. Does anybody know how to configure Exchange? You are smart. So are you. And you. Sorry, I almost didn't see you there. Okay, so I don't know. Sounds hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up, guess what? AWS has a service for that. Okay, it's called SES. Simple email service. You pop in here and again hit the little cardboard box in the corner to find the SES, and then it brings you here. Verify new domain. Yes, please. Put in your domain. Generate the DKIM. So the DKIM settings are a little bit of a signing, a little cryptographic signing on your outgoing email server. Some email blinky box or filtering will say, hey, is this signed? No, we'll kick it out. Some won't. Most won't. But guess what? To do it, all you have to do is check that box. So do it. I think it's even default. I don't know if it's default checked. I'll be honest with you. But check it. It's just a checkbox. Okay, then we're going to verify this domain. So there's a bunch of stuff at the top. That's boring. That's hard. I don't know what those are. They're a bunch of letters and numbers. Sounds dumb. So we go to the bottom. Oh, Amazon through Route 53 customers. That's me. I'm a Route 53 customer. So we're just going to click the button that says use Route 53. Easy, right? Who likes easy things? Me. Everyone at this conference likes easy things. We're all hacker mindset. This is what we like. We like easy things. Okay. Click on Route 53. Brings us to this, more stuff that we don't care about, and then another button that says go. Okay, so we're gonna hit the go button. That's gonna create all of our SES, outgoing mail server settings in our DNS. That's easy, right? Set up the mail server, verifies it for you, and then you get this thing, you gotta wait for a minute. I don't really know what it does. I think it just goes into a queue, spins around for 5 minutes, and then shoots out approved. Like, is there really any verification here? I don't really know. Whatever it is, it's automated and it happens fast. So then you get this and we're happy. We're all verified up. Okay, so we got a verified email we can send through our outgoing mail server and we got that. So the other thing we need is an email client. Okay, so typically in my engagements, I will send email through, I don't know, it changes. You can send it from SendMail. Who uses SendMail? Nice, nice. I like it. And you can script SendMail, right? So that's sweet. So you like that. You can automate this entire process. AWS exposes a pretty extensive API, so you can expose all of these functions, type in a domain you want, and then it just hit the go button. It'll just do everything. You compose the email. It'll take a little bit of coding, but not horrible. So you could use your Gmail client. Has anybody added an external domain to their Gmail client before? Yes. We got the superstars right here. So it's not hard, but there's plenty of how-tos on that. So I'm not going to go into the details of that. Also, it's super easy to add an outgoing mail server to Exchange, to your Outlook, right? My Exchange guys, you got my back on that one? Yep, super easy. You're going to need a couple settings. So here you go. Amazon's going to give them to you. There's your server, your port, all the good stuff that you need, and then you need some creds. So you can't just bounce it off this outgoing mail server. That would be insecure. So we have to create our creds. Yes, show my creds. There's your creds. They're long, they're gross, but you just copy and paste them into your client. Off to the races. Okay, now we have an outgoing mail server and hopefully a client configured. And I mean, you could use any client you want. You could use Thunderbird. You could use I don't know. Chrome doesn't have one. They just use Gmail. I don't know. There's all weird. I think Mac has one. What's the Mac one? What is it? Mail. It's not iMail. Just Mail. Okay. Apple's claimed that. No one can claim their Mail. Oh, Windows 10. Ooh, has Mail as well. I see a lawsuit brewing. Okay. So, good times. Mail clients are easier to configure. That's the good news for us. Okay. All right. What are we doing now? Okay. So, who's a Doctor Who fan? Some Doctor. Hey, more than my last talk. Last talk I got nothing. No, it was like crickets were in the back. So, yeah, I like Doctor Who. It's a good show. If anybody hasn't ever watched Doctor Who, watch the one with Vincent Van Gogh, and you'll just be hooked for life. You have to watch all however many seasons since 2006. Don't watch the old ones; they're weird. Okay, so we're going to establish some trust. We're going to attempt to fool our users, but it's for their own good. Remember, this is for their own good. Okay, so we want to establish some trust. These are the components of a successful email. Create a sense of urgency. Does this sound like a marketing email to anyone else? Yes, that's because that's what it is. Okay, so call to action, again, a little marketing, and then support. If you get the support emails, hey, yeah, try back later. Just reset your password, give it to us again. Okay, so here's a couple example emails that I've used in the past. So I've got some highlights there. So in red, I'm establishing some trust. So, hey, I know you guys are moving buildings, so we're going to put that in the subject line. Moving buildings. Moving building security, okay? Very important. Action required. Who looks at emails with action required in the subject? Everyone does. You don't have to be ashamed to raise your hand. But, or urgent, or what, I don't know. It's a new buzzword every week. But, so then I'm going to start my paragraph. As you know, we're moving to a new building. And I know this because I'm one of you. Okay, so establish some trust, and then we've got a call to action. Please log in the blue box there. And then on this specific company, they had on their about page photos of all the employees. Now, let me let you on a little secret you may or may not know. People are vain. Am I right? Am I right? Has anybody been on their Facebook feed? How many of those are selfies? A lot of them. So if somebody got a goofy photo on their first go around at the About page, maybe they want to update it. So I threw a little thing, yeah, approve your update, your photo, upload a new one, and then we need some urgency. So we're going to make sure you take care of this by noon today. Now, I don't know, for those of you that are conducting phishing engagements, you may or may not know this, but there's a long tail to these phishing emails. So you've got kind of the graph is kind of like a ramp up, and then it peaks for a little while, and you're still getting people, but then by the end of the day, it kind of drops off, and of course, 5 o'clock, nothing. But then Monday, there's a whole new round of people that I don't know if they didn't see the email on Friday, or if they tried to log in and it didn't work, but I'll get credentials up to 14, 21 days after the engagement. So good times. I don't know where they were on the whole training part or the, hey, this was fake, but anyway. Here's another email that I used for, now this was more of a time-based thing. It was the end of the year, it was a December engagement. So who isn't worried about their health care? It's changing, things are churning and moving, and it usually ends up in a higher price. So we set up, nice guy company, right? They set up a whole website so you can learn about your health care and how it's going to affect you, demystify the new changes to your health care plan. So obviously this was pretty successful, but we had established some trust, and then call to action: log in, learn about your health care, or if you don't even care, everyone must log in to at least confirm next year's coverage. You gotta log in. My hands are tied. So, and the other thing in the green box on the bottom, make sure that your changes aren't going to adversely affect your premiums. Spoiler alert, they're going to. Okay, so log in, see your things, and then we've got a link there, and then of course the signature from the SVP of HR, who you would expect to get this from. By the way, after these engagements, sometimes I meet the people that I send as in social situations, and it does tend to get a little awkward. So if you like the person that you're trying to send from, maybe pick their subordinate or something. I don't know. But I've run into a couple of them, and it's been a thing. Okay, usually they're like, none of my employees trust my emails anymore. They're always calling. Anyway, good times, good times. Hey, they're validating, trust but verify, right? That's our mantra. Okay. So now we have to have a server to run these things on. So we have our email server, we have our outgoing server, we have our email client configured. We've got to be able to have the users click somewhere to give us their credentials, right? Now there's lots of different phishing engagement types. You could deploy malware as an attachment. You could deploy malware as a link. You could send them over to a malicious website that then delivers malware. Or what I like to do, because malware, I mean, who likes to clean up malware that's in IT in here? Nobody. For the people in the front, nobody in the back is raising their hand. Nobody wants to clean up malware because it's messy, it makes backdoors, and things happen, and it's management doesn't really like it either. So anyway, gathering credentials is my preferred method, but I'll do whatever, whatever somebody wants. So this is just a brief cheat sheet, and all the slides, I gave you a special set of slides for the conference that I think are somewhere where you can obtain them. Am I right? Someone? Bueller? Okay, you can get them. And in the slides, they're a little bit different from my slides, where they have a little bit more instruction that it doesn't really look exciting on the screen, kind of like this slide, that you can work through. So there's a couple of cheat sheet slides that says, these are the steps, do this, 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 this. So those will be a little bit easier once you're sitting down in front of a computer, you're like, Route 57. That's not it. Okay. So you can follow along on those. Anyway, this is just a cheat sheet for setting up a Linux VM in your AWS. Okay. Again, this is also going to fall under the AWS documentation. They're really good at documenting all of these things, how to do them. I want to set up an Ubuntu instance. Okay, here are the steps. They're really good at that. So I don't feel the need to cover it here. But there's a couple of gotchas, like you got to change the permissions on your certificate before you SSH in, that kind of thing. And if you're less technical, get your IT team to help you and say, hey, I need to SSH to this thing. And they're like, okay, they'll create a team that have the skills that you need to make this successful. Okay, if you need somebody from HR to make sure everything's good, great. If you need somebody that's technical, maybe you're less technical, either way, then get somebody on your team that has those skills that you need. If somebody's particularly devious, that you think they'd be good at crafting malicious emails, then great, bring them in. But don't think you have to do it on your own. Okay, if your company only has 10 people, you might have to do it on your own. But get a team together, leverage other people's interests and their skill sets. Okay, so we're creating an Amazon Linux instance, and we've given it an IP address, and now we can remote to it. Okay, all right, and this is the DNS setting for, you have to go back into Route 53 and give the IP address to your DNS. It used to be DNS took like, I don't know, 100 million years to update. It was like 72 hours or some ridiculous thing. Now it's like, I don't know, seconds. I remember those days. It was, did we also remember those days? updating a domain, it was like, what? When is this thing going to roll? Anyway. Okay, so you create an A record. You can see type A IPv4 address. Give it your IP address that you just gave to your Amazon instance, and create. Go button. Okay, and now you go to that domain, and it'll show whatever's running on that server. Probably nothing yet because we haven't started it yet. Okay, enter. Anybody like Hackers in here? The movie? Yes. Well, that's an underwhelming response. Who has seen Hackers in here? Okay, now keep your hands up. Those of you who have seen Hackers, put your hand down if you didn't like it. Oh, sad. Okay, so excellent. This movie came out in 2005. I was a junior in high school, and it was awesome. I saw it like 100 times. Angelina Jolie, she's in there. Anyway, so enter the social engineering toolkit, which, has anybody in here watched the show Mr. Robot? I like it. Okay, does anybody remember Set, him using Set in Mr. Robot? So super cool tool written by Dave Kennedy, super cool guy. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. Good guy, I've heard him speak many, many times. Just a nice, down-to-earth, normal guy. You can walk up to him, have a conversation with him. Anyway, he wrote this tool called the Social Engineering Toolkit. Now, this goes back to I like easy things. Dave has spent his time making things easy for us, okay? So there's a few config options in there, and again, they'll be in the slides that you'll be able to grab. This is what the tool looks like. It is a command line tool, but don't be scared because it just has commands. Just put in like a number for the menu item. Like, it's super easy. So like I mentioned, it's made by Dave Kennedy. This version happens to be called Mr. Robot. I think was a bit of a shout out to his tool being on the show, which I think is cool. Anyway, so number one, we're going to go to social engineering attacks. Set does a lot of cool things. Like, if you can get a spare 3 hours just to like look at all the different things that Set can do, it's cool. I think in Mr. Robot he used to send a fake SMS message, if I remember correctly. I don't know what the back-end setup looks like on that, but there's a lot of stuff that it can do. So one of the things it can do is set up a fake website and steal credentials. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to social engineering attacks, and then we're going to do website attack vectors because we're going to set up a fake website for people to put their credentials into. So one enter, 2 enter, 3 enter. It's getting complex, I can tell. And we're going to do the credential harvester attack method. Okay. So 3 enter, and then 2 enter. I realized I didn't go in order. I'm sorry. It wasn't number 4, but 1 and 2, 3, 2. Okay. So now that we're here, we're going to clone a website. Great. So let's put in, we're going to put the IP address for our server that we just set up, and then we're going to put in a URL to clone. Now, Set's pretty cool. It will just go out, scrape the site where I'm using the Google login here. Has anybody ever logged into Google? Ever? Anything? Yes. Everyone has. Hands down, you're all liars. Okay. So we're going to clone the Google login page because our company uses Google Apps, Gmail. Probably other companies, I assume, use it because it's sweet. So we're going to grab those credentials from that website, and Set just clones it for you. Nice guy Set, right? It's easy. And so this is a example login website for one that I cloned for a previous engagement. That's black as their company logo. This looked exactly like their company login page. And same here. And there's the Google one. That's the fake one. I know it's hard to tell because they look the same. You don't have to go to a web page and then like wget whatever the recursive command is, -h, okay, where is it? And then grab all the goods, right? All the images and the JavaScript. It just pulls it all for you. Set, does it all. Okay, that's what we like. Easy things. So it looks pretty legit, right? So I'm going to put my creds in, of course. And there's my creds, and there they pop out in Set. Done. Applause. So not that hard, okay? We just went in 33 minutes from me explaining how to do this, which, by the way, when you just do it, it doesn't take as long, to credentials right here, okay? It's not that hard. So there is a little bit of necessarily hand waving, but once you put in that site to clone, set pops out some commands, which are here, does some stuff, starts a Python web server for you, like it just does it, just goes, and then it's just listing on port 80, and then you've got this login page that's just there automatically. And then as soon as you get credentials, it grabs any posts from that clone site on your server, displays them inline here, and then you can see at the bottom, when you're finished, hit Control-C to generate a report, so you can get the report of all your credentials that you've collected, and pretty sweet. You can, let me see, so we're gonna go into that. So set makes things easy. AWS plus set equals phishing goodness, okay? Great. Okay, so another slide I mentioned, I was a car nerd, so this is the Focus RS. Anybody know what the Focus RS is? Let's chat after. Anyway, it's a cool car, it's coming out, promise. So the other things you can do, so that's done. You've just done your phishing engagement. That thing is over, put a bow on it, write a report, send it to management, collect money from them because they want you to do this more, and do a training, right? Because they're gonna want you to do that. So the next couple things, your second engagement, you want to get a little bit more complex if you want. I mean, you want to get up your game, right? I mean, you can't just do the same thing over. Over and over, excuse me. So set can use a proper web server. Set can use Apache. Anybody heard of Apache? I'm just kidding. So you can configure it to use Apache. In the config lines I gave you in a previous slide, it told you how to turn Apache off, so it'll just run the Python web server. It's all the same to the user. It just depends on what you're going to do with the data afterwards. I typically like to do, I know I said I like easy things, but I like Nginx better than I like Apache. So instead of using Apache, I use Nginx, which requires a little bit more configuration, but not much. If anybody use Nginx in here? I like it. I like it. The Ruski web server, it's money. So very little configuration to get up and running though, am I right? Yeah, it's not hard. Easier than Apache, am I right? Yeah. But set will do Apache for you. I don't know, it's sixes. So you can use a different web server, you can host it wherever. The thing about set is it will grab all that website data that it scraped off the login page, it'll save it for you, an HTML file. It'll also save a PHP file that handles the post requests, so the data coming in, and then what it does is it redirects the user back to the legitimate login page. So the user sees they click go with their credentials in there, you get them, sweet, and then they get redirected back to the login page that's legitimate. So if they think something's wrong, oh, this didn't seem right, let's check it, oh, I'm on the right site, everything's fine, then they log in and it's fine. I still get emails asking for support even after they've done that, but it's about as non-intrusive as you can get without raising a bunch of flags. So, and still getting what you want. So you could use a different web server. You can also add SSL. Whose login pages are encrypted? Everyone's, right? I mean, you have to. If you're not, let's talk after. But Komodo, I think it's Komodo, nice guy Komodo, they will give you a free TLS certificate for 90 days for any domain that you can come up with and put in their website. So that's the link, it's in your slides. So that's what I usually use. I'll fire up a free 90-day certificate. Hopefully at the end of 90 days I'm not still getting emails, but maybe. So those are a couple things you can do to kind of up your game on the second or third time, and then keep it up. Keep doing the quarterly thing, okay? Run an engagement once a quarter. If you can't convince management to do it once a quarter, at least do it twice a year or something like that. Make it really easy for them to say yes. So create a nice report. Charts, remember charts and graphs? Charts and graphs on the report. And then the training as well. So I think we're going to talk about that. So what? Who cares? Any Archer fans in here? Yes, Archer. So funny. And so wrong at the same time. So these are big questions for management. Okay, so what can we do once we successfully have a phishing engagement? Okay, so malicious users or malicious attackers could deliver malware, like we talked about earlier. Anywhere from local compromise to network compromise, run some Mimikatz in there and just pivot through your network and own the entire thing, right? That's the fire truck showing up and then the news truck every time. Okay, once they're there, get to the servers, exfil data, disrupt availability, just hang out, right? How many breaches last for less than 7 days? Anyone know? I know the exact number. Not many, okay? They usually go on for months and months before they're detected. I think the average is like, I want to say it's like 90 days or worse. Can you back me up on that or call me out? What? 293? 293 days? That's longer than 3 months. Okay, I like that data better. 293 days is the average breach length. That's the problem. Okay, so bad news. Collect credentials, obviously we saw that already. Once they have credentials, they could log into external accessible resources. I mean, they don't even have to do anything mischievous there, right? They send an email, get credentials, they're you. You now no longer share, you no longer have a personal identity, you share your identity with others. Okay. This is an example, obviously, of a malware link. Download, seems legit, right? It's using old school H1 text. I mean, how could this not be legit? And then Adobe's not helping us, okay? Adobe is not on our side. They don't want to help us. I know they have a nice building in Utah County. Anybody work at Adobe here? Oh, okay. We can still be friends, though, I promise. I'm sure you didn't write this help page. So obviously, malicious PDFs are a thing. Hackers like those. Pen testers like those. Bad guys like those. But Adobe has their help page. This warning does not necessarily mean this page or website is harmful. Yes, it does. I have never got a PDF. Has anybody got a legitimate PDF thing that ran code inside of it? Those of you in the front, nobody is raising their hands. Okay, nobody does this. So maybe you can submit a support ticket for this in Adobe. Now he's Adobe. So okay. Yes, always harmful, always bad. And if it isn't bad, don't send it. Do something else. There's got to be another way to accomplish the same goals. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about this already, but how do we defend against phishing and spam? Okay. So we can have spam filter, Blinky Box, right? Does Blinky Box help? Sure. Yeah, Blinky Box can help. It can get rid of some of the lower hanging fruit. It can detect if there's an email sent to your entire company from the same address, right? Maybe that's a red flag. So not a bad idea. Blinky Box, in this case, not a bad idea. They're complex to configure, okay? So it requires somebody to configure it, and they can be beaten pretty easily by a determined attacker. They do, again, get rid of the opportunity attackers. All right, you could whitelist. Does anybody have whitelisted email blocking at their organization? Okay, you work at like the CIA or something? Okay. So whitelisting is hard. Is whitelisting hard? Oh, SPF records. Okay. Fair enough. So you can whitelist. You can do it well. Probably doing well, I'm assuming. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Otherwise, it's difficult. Somebody has to like call you on the phone. Hey, this is Bill. Can I send you an email now? No? Okay, I'll try again tomorrow. So that's a problem, right? I mean, new email senders, difficult. Not bad if your environment's pretty static and the same people email you, or if you're in a controlled environment, that kind of thing. Okay, so testing and training is by far the most effective way. Because if we make humans better at detecting malicious things, they're going to be better at detecting all malicious things, okay? So if we can teach them, hey, look for the padlock. Okay, it has the padlock. But padlocks can still be to a fake domain. Make sure the domain is what you expect it to be. These are things that everyone in this room knows, okay? Those are the things that maybe Jimmy in HR doesn't know. Like, poor Jimmy, he's just wanting to do his job and wants to sign in and put his health information in. I mean, you know, I had a bout with whatever last year. I don't, anyway. So, yeah, training. Training, it can be hard. Does anybody do a security awareness training in here at the organization? Good, good. Of those that raised your hand, how many of you also do phishing and security awareness training? Nice, I like it. So Not horrible. Could be worse. I've seen worse in a crowd this size. There are ways to make training fun that make users interested in it. A couple of the strategies that I've heard of are teach users as if you're helping them just in general. So not necessarily in a work context, but hey, this is how you detect this in any context, at home, at work. You can teach your spouse, you can teach your friends, you can teach your kids, this kind of thing. The other is to have some sort of reward. Who's the first person to report this phishing event? Oh, it was Susie in, I don't know, some sort of whatever department. I'm really out of gas here. So she gets a Snickers bar or a spot at the front of the building to park her car, or she gets mentioned in the newsletter. These are the things that are easy, they're cheap, and they help users to realize that, hey, this stuff's important, and it's kind of fun to kind of be involved in it. Okay, so don't be like Brian. Don't keep your plants from freezing, but then your house burns down because you put in $5 cheaper wiring or whatever. Okay, make sure that you have the bases covered. You're running your phishing engagements. You're doing your security awareness training, that those coincide. Your data from your phishing engagements rolls into your security awareness training, that you're able to say, hey, it gets real when you sit in front of a group of people and you say, this is what you guys did last time we did a phishing engagement. This is what you clicked on. Probably don't put individuals' names on there, but these are how much, just the stats I gave you before. This is how many people put in their credentials, etc. It will help you, I promise. And social engineering and phishing is the way that compromises occur. All right, any questions? Yes. Yeah, so the question is, do I look in advance once I know that engagement is going to happen and register a domain name that makes sense for that engagement? It depends. Sometimes I've had 24-hour notice before doing an engagement. So yes, and I like those. I like having that time to formulate an event, search their website. What's happening in this organization? Do they have announcements on their website? Do they have a newsletter? Are those things public? Can I look at those? What's happening in the future for this company? Those are the things that you can use towards those and tailor that email and the domain towards being successful, for sure. Great question.
The other thing that my experience a lot of things get through anyway, but
yeah. So the suggestion was to use a tool that helps you derive the domain name, things that are similar and things that are off by one. Is that what you're saying? In the binary? Yeah. So that's another great suggestion for sure. Thanks for that. Any other questions? Yes.
So during an engagement, you're typically going to be sending it out to everyone. Wow, and there's a few times so there's a effect where one person becomes wide on. They kind of spread around the word to everyone, and it kind of makes the numbers as well. How do you tell them? Because it's good behavior. You want that to occur, but at the same time, you want to get accurate metrics for everyone.
Yeah, so the question is, how do I make sure or try and tailor my approach to where Billy doesn't nudge Susie and say, hey, this email's fake, don't click on it, which does happen over time. I have seen that. I don't see it as often as I should see it, if that makes sense. Usually on an email blast, it's a fairly, those companies were both, 1,500, 2,000 employees. So 100 may not hit all of those employees, or it may not even hit two people sitting next to each other. So usually a sample size is the way to do that. If you're going to do your whole organization, I would say you have to come up with a systematic plan to, well, we're going to hit 10 people from this department, 10 people from this department today, and hopefully you can get a big enough sample size to where you won't run into kind of stats issues, that kind of thing. But yeah, great question. Yeah.
Isn't that a positive metric you want, though, where you can show the company how the whole is better because their employees are aware and willing to say something?
Yeah, so the question is, isn't that good if you see that happening and that if they see something, they say something? It is a good metric. It really just comes down to what the engagement looks like. What are your goals? As long as you outlined your goals beforehand, you can tailor all that. But yeah, I agree. That is a good metric. And if you're testing for that, blast the whole thing. I mean, if you're doing this quarterly, you can mix it up. You can say, hey, well, our goals last time were this, and we want to find out this data point this time. So you can tailor it towards that. But yeah, for sure. Great question. Yes?
Just one more thing. In the instructions we had, I'm just going to walk through it. As a result, is that all of the usernames and passwords do go over clear text over the wire because they go to port 80. And so it may be valuable even on the first engagement to do the act itself because your IT manager will, and potentially your CIO will definitely not fit for that.
Yeah, so the suggestion is those creds are still going in the clear on port 80, which is true. So you may want to just do that certificate up front on the first engagement, which I 100% agree with. So yeah, definitely good comment. Yes? I have not, but the question was, have I used DMARC records for additional reporting? And I haven't to date. Usually what I'll do on kind of the front end tracking is, and remember, I like things that are easy. There's a plugin for Chrome that works with Gmail called, I think it's called Banana Tag, which is a super weird name. But it tracks your email, puts a little, I don't know if it does image or JavaScript or whatever, but it'll track the clicks, it'll track the opens, that kind of thing. And there's tools like that you can use. It's free. So yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I use for data collection. It's pretty reliable. There's probably better methods. You can also, as a side note, I mentioned that Set scrapes the site and then saves it to files for you, including the PHP and a couple other things. So there are a couple things I like to modify in there. One is to add a date stamp to each post request, which isn't hard. And if you don't do PHP or don't know anybody that does PHP, send me an email and I'll shoot you the code for it. It's pretty straightforward. So you can add a timestamp. You can have it do other things. You can clean up the form so it doesn't post all these hidden form fields that usually exist on like a login form. So there's definitely some things you can do to customize. And this is like, hey, you've got 8 hours to run this phishing engagement, go button. And so I just, I'm an external assessor, pen tester, so I don't necessarily get the time to hang out on the inside and say, hey, how can we make this better? I just do it, and then I do it again, and I do it again. So there's definitely improvements on this, and I've done nothing new. This is just information knowledge transfer. So it's all pretty straightforward stuff. Again, if you have any questions, let me know after the fact. I think we still have a few more minutes. If anybody else has any questions, though. Going. Okay, so here's some contact information. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on the emails. So if you have any questions or you're doing something or you see my slide and I got a typo or, hey, this isn't working, whatever, just let me know. And I'll do my best to get back to you and help you out. Thanks for coming.